things?
On the surface of this game, like probably most of it can be credited to me and our art director Heather Penn, who's based in Los Angeles. So everything here that looks pretty, which in my opinion is a lot,
it's
is
a
her
nice
fault.
looking game. This is sort of an isometric kind of game.
Yeah. If there's anything here that you think doesn't look pretty, that's my fault.
That's you.
Yep.
Okay.
So we usually pitch this as like a XCOM meets Oregon Trail.
I love both of those things.
Right?
So to combine the two seems like a pretty positive thing. That sounds like chocolate meets peanut butter. Like, I'm having a good time.
Pretty much. So a lot of it is like, those are just kind of things that I like.
Yeah.
But also, there's a lot of other things here. It's roguelike, it's permadeath, it's randomly generated, all of that good stuff. So we're trying to get from the east coast of the U.S. to the west coast.
Okay, let's go into the game. Let's take a look.
On this guy, Russ. Russ was a classically trained pianist, and he misses his friend.
Oh.
And we've just met
Poor Russ.
Bjorn. Bjorn's pretty charismatic, but we don't have access to that yet because we don't know him very well.
Oh, okay. This is a little bit of backstory you already know.
Yeah, there are just sort of little things here that come up on the little character profiles down here. And so what we're trying to do is liberate that car and fill it up with gas and get on the highway and kind of start our sort of exodus to the west.
Cool. So this is sort of the very beginning of the game that we're looking at here.
Yeah, this is kind of for this demo, this is basically our tutorial area. So it kind of in order to escape from here, you have to interact with some objects, collect some fuel, get in the car, actually get out of there.
So what's the sort of situation that we're coming into at the beginning of the game here? Because this doesn't look like everyone's having a good time.
Not everyone's having a good time. There aren't a lot of people anymore.
Okay. Do we know at the outset of the game sort of what's happened, or?
We know that something bad has happened, and not necessarily a lot more than that yet. Cool. Part of what is going to happen is you're going to be finding out a little bit more about what happened. I will say that players hopefully will understand that whatever it is that went wrong started out west.
Okay.
And we're headed that way.
Oh. So you're heading towards where all the stuff happened.
Right now we're on the East Coast, and there's kind of nowhere left to go. Ah. So
why not go west at this stage? So this is a big part of the game, like you say. It's sort of got an adventure vibe to it as well.
That's the goal. Is come up with something that has a lot of the sort of roguelike, permadeath, strategy games type stuff that I like. Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, that guy.
What's going on here?
We're just gonna leave him there.
Okay.
Our goal. So the core tension in the game most of the time is you're just trying to drive, but to drive you need gas, and to get gas you have to get out of the car and get it, and to get out of the car and get gas you have to be able to defend yourself somehow.
Yeah.
So we're moving toward the Woodlands area now, which is sort of the first I like main area of the game. Yeah, that's all Heather again.
Oh yeah, that's everything you point out is nice. Ever. Yeah.
We collaborated on this map a little bit. It's mostly Heather still.
Yeah.
So we have a couple options here. This is your basic randomly generated roadmap. This first area of the game.
Okay, so this is, like you said, because it's a roguelike as well, it's all procedurally generated?
Yep. Every time you start a new game, every time your character dies horribly alone in the wilderness, you start a new game.
That's kind of a common affair as well. Like
it happens a lot. I have seen people die on the level I was just on before.
Oh, because did they try and interact with the little?
Some things happen. They accidentally ran.
Going to be different every
they
time,
accidentally ran someone over with the car, and then the car exploded, and it was bad.
It was a shame.
Yeah, it didn't work out. So we got a couple options. We can either kind of like jump straight to the next area if we're like a pro level player, or we can spend some time and kind of buff up and get some supplies.
Okay, so that's what you would do here in this sort of screen, or is it kind of this is indicated by the map?
What we got on the map here is we've got sort of a boss level at the end of this area.
Okay.
And we can drive straight there, but that'll use up about 10 gallons of fuel.
Oh, okay. So you know, like at the moment it says in the corner, I'm assuming you've got 18.
Yep.
And you know that, okay.
And it can only hold about 20 gallons in this car without getting special upgrades later. Or we can go to this other closer site, which has things like med kits, weapons, stuff like that. Or so we've heard. And that'll cost about 6 gallons of gas.
Okay.
So I think usually most of the time, you want to be collecting items. You want to be kind of crewing up and getting ready for the kind of surprising things that might happen later. So hedging your bets, I guess.
So this is, I mean, it's definitely got a sort of zombie film vibe to it, in that you're constantly on edge of anything could happen at any point.
Pretty much.
Sort of what you want to prepare for.
Yeah, and the part of this is kind of the kind of games that I like. Like a game like Tetris, I think has this really brilliant, wonderful thing where it can be very, very random, but it's still a very skillful game.
100%.
And a lot of the skill comes from how you prepare for the random events.
Okay, yeah, so that... Because I can imagine there's going to be immediately two different sorts of ways you could play this. Like, you could try and just get through... Like, right then, you could have just gone to a boss battle. You had the fuel.
Exactly.
But you weren't necessarily prepared.
Right, right. It would have been a little bit risky. We probably would have damaged the car. I'm glad we went here. I've actually got a toolbox, which I can use to repair the vehicle later. So that's going to come in pretty handy. And we found a knife, which is a pretty useful item, too. There's one more car to search, but I actually don't know if it's worth the effort. It might be better to just... We got a couple of really good items here. We might be able to just hit the road. So, like, a lot of the... you know, sort of a normal sort of roguelike or action game loop is you enter and you murder everything.
That's the style, and then off you go.
Then you collect all the goodies, and then you kind of go on.
Yeah.
And the tension in Overland, at pretty much every turn... Ooh, let's go here. We might be able to get a car with an upgrade here. The tension in Overland is get in, fight off things if you can, but when you fight them off, reinforcements are going to show up. So there's a constant tension of grab what you can and get out of there.
Because we've not really interacted with whatever these things are.
Not much yet.
Now, that it does seem as well, though, that they're going to leave you alone unless you go near them?
They are not.
Oh, okay.
And this one is right in the way. We want this car. It's got a luggage rack upgrade, which is going to let us carry an extra item. That's super handy.
Okay, so I noticed you just killed one, but then there was that little thing happening over there.
Yes, exactly.
So by killing them, it's sort of going to spawn more, potentially?
Yep.
Okay.
The only condition under which that won't happen in the game is if it's rainy. There's kind of a dynamic random weather system kind of going on in the background. If it's a rainy place, you can actually kind of fall back on an older, more video gamey behavior. Otherwise, you pretty much have to be watching your back all the time.
So now, as you go along, is there sort of... Because gameplay-wise, this sounded very interesting. Narrative-wise, how is there a narrative telling itself as it goes along?
There's not a fixed story with cutscenes kind of a thing. A lot of our inspiration comes from games like Dwarf Fortress or Spelunky, where a lot of the story is sort of generated by the player.
Yeah, like you're telling almost your own tale, and it's kind of done through... Like, again, you're saying how good the artist is. There's a lot of visual storytelling being done here.
And the trick to that stuff, it turns out, that I guess should have been obvious to me at the outset, but has only become clear through trying to build this thing, is that's not something that happens automatically. You have to sort of build things in to help people tell stories to themselves about what they're doing. It doesn't just happen. It's really weird. So there's a lot of different features in the game that are designed to try and do this more. So we're actually...
I noticed when you got in the car, these things now seem very much on edge.
Yeah, things are getting... what happened that made them on edge is this guy climbed out of the ground.
Okay. So he's a lot bigger than the other ones.
Yeah, they take 2 hits. A lot of things in Overland are very board gamey. Everything has kind of 1 HP or 2 HP. You can do 1 or 2 actions at a time. That keeps the decision space kind of compact, and it keeps, I think, the decisions meaningful.
Yeah.
It had some other weird design challenges, but we've pretty much sussed them out. Right now, we're trying to get gas out of this car and transfer it over to this car so we can get out of here before that thing gets too close.
Okay, yeah, now I can see the movement of them as well. It very much feels like a kind of, like, almost sort of a Fire Emblem vibe. Totally. In how the thing's playing out. Like, there is immediate threat, but it's not a stressful immediate threat to the point where they're just going to go, whoa, like that.
Yeah, well...
It's a sort of slow burn, they're coming in kind of thing.
And whenever you push back against that, more creatures are showing up on the edge, and the burn is getting harder to hold back. I've also been playing the game for about 2 years, and this is the tutorial area.
Yeah.
So things won't get too spicy yet.
Well, no, but I still know, because it's procedurally generated, even you playing it now, it's sort of like you go into the next being like, oh, okay, so we're doing this, right.
Exactly. So we're going to go into the boss level here, because we have a pretty good car setup we're going on, and we can stash our first aid kit. Oh, we lost the toolbox at some point, that's not good. Oh well. So here, instead of like a boss battle against a monster in Overland, you've got roadblocks. Almost every level in the game, this starts mattering more later when things get more gnarly more quickly, you can almost always just drive out of a level. It'll use up some fuel, but you don't have to.
So however bad it gets, you can just...
Yeah, if you show up and you're like, whoa, we are not ready for this, you can go.
Yeah.
Roadblocks are the only place you can't do that.
So how can you get by these roadblocks? Ah, okay, you can push it. Ah, but can you only push it in one direction so the car can't immediately just...
Yeah, usually it's a little bit of a multi-step thing. Different areas of the game have different types of roadblock challenges, too. And there's a little bit of fuel to scavenge here, too, to kind of keep us busy. Ooh, actually, I'm going to leave the knife in the car. So I got hands-free for that fuel can.
I've got to say, the score for this game, very good. Like, it's, again, it's, I think part of the visual design, it's telling a lot about the game without, like you say, shoving it down your throat.
It was a really tricky balance. I mean, all the credit for this goes to Jocelyn Reyes, who's our audio director. She's based in Austin also.
Yeah.
And it's just been a really weird fight. Like, part of the problem is, I don't know if you know this, folks have made a handful of post-apocalyptic films and video games in the past.
What?
It's true. It's true.
I thought this was the first.
You know, it seems like we're blazing new ground, but yeah, it's...
I know what you mean. We've referenced a few already just as we go along. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
It reminds me of this. It reminds me of that.
Exactly. And as a designer, to me, there's a bunch of challenges that come along with that, where it's... you know, oops, that's not what I wanted. Let's see. Oh, he's actually safe there. I think that's okay. You know, how do you make this feel fresh? How do you make this feel interesting to people when, you know, even if we wanted, even if we thought, you know, the right vibe for this is for it to look exactly like Fallout. Yeah. I don't have 4,000 artists.
No.
And
or
B,
6 years.
Even if I did, like, their version of things is amazing, so we have to find kind of our own space, and part of that has to do with the look, and a lot of that has to do with the sound, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
So a lot of games will bring in a sound designer a lot later in the process, and Jocelyn's been working on the game for over 1.5 years already.
Oh, wow.
So the audio kind of identity, like the sense of where you are and what it sounds like, is just it's something I feel strongly about, and I think is it's one of the ways that we as a small studio can sort of help make some place that feels big and feels full and kind of represents our vision, but, you know, again, we can do it with fewer than 4,000 artists.
I 100% agree. And it does seem to have done quite a very good job as well, like, because we can hear the music through here.
Yeah.
It definitely, even just the sound design, like, we're talking, and, like, I'll just hear this, and I'm like, oh, what's happening now? Like, that kind of a thing. And that, like you say, without having to go too crazy on, like, crazy visual flair and stuff like that, you built up a lot of stuff.
Exactly. So here's kind of the first, what I would call the real area of the game. This is a chunk of highway that's got about 20 locations on it. Wow. And we can kind of skip around. We can skip some places, but we can't go back. And so this is...
Oh, really? Once you've gone forward...
Exactly.
That's it.
So this is kind of like your higher level strategy view. You're looking at how much fuel you have, you see who's in your group and what their items are, and you're looking at the resources that are available on this stretch of highway and trying to figure out, you know, how do we use our resources the best? If you go to every single detour the whole way, it's going to use up a lot of fuel.
Well, yeah, so that's just, as you say, like, I guess you've just got to sit here and scan this and be like, what am I going to do? Yeah,
so you got a couple options. You can maybe get some better items. We're in a new area of the game, so we're going to be able to find different sorts of resources than we could find before. Our car is damaged, so finding a way to fix that up might help. We could go here and try to get a new car. That's not a bad idea. Especially because this site here is what we call kind of like a high-value item site. So here's a place where you can find items that function a lot more like upgrades than normal inventory items. You can find objects that will... Huh?
I'm saying that's going to take 16 out of your 18.
Yeah, if we drive out there, we're pretty close to boned.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of have some in-between steps. What do we want to do in order to be able to safely get there and get back on the road? And probably then, well, I don't know. Let's go out there.
And we're going to do it anyway. Why
not a super
we might as well let the
strategically
people
strong
see
move.
what it is, yeah. Now, you mentioned that there's a lot of difficult and interesting design choices that you've had to make going through, because I suppose you don't want it to be too derivative of everything that's sort of come before, but you do enjoy this genre, quite obviously.
Well, and part of the goal is to make something that has kind of a board gamey appeal that people can get into without needing a lot of prior strategy game experience. And so usually that means relying on existing knowledge. So it's a weird kind of balancing act between things that you think people might already know and doing something new with that information.
Okay.
Again, like, just so much credit to Heather and Jocelyn for kind of coming up with like an audio-visual place that is familiar but not, you know, and a lot of design is kind of weird challenges, like using a lot of kind of common everyday objects in the game as a way of hopefully bypassing, you know, nobody needs to read a tutorial about how the plasma rifle works, for example.
Yeah, I like that you went with common household objects and then went to plasma rifle.
Yeah, so...
No,
like,
I know what you mean, though. You being someone that's played any games, you are aware of what this thing is.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's been really weird, because the thing that usually happens is when you start trying to... you're trying to do something new, it's easy to lose people.
Yeah.
So you fall back on using things that are a little more familiar to help people, to bring them to where you are, but you're trying to keep things simple.
Yeah.
And keeping things simple sometimes means presenting problem spaces that are trivial to solve. Because you've made the surface simple, and so now the things under it maybe aren't as complicated anymore.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You can easily miss a lot of depth, which is what's going to keep people playing.
Exactly. So navigating that whole space, new and familiar, simple but deep, and finding a way to do that where all the elements fit together.
It's not easy.
It's been a little bit tricky in places.
Yeah.
But
were there any particular elements that were particularly hard for you, like during the development?
I will say the first thing that comes to mind is the first pass of the game. There were two things. One thing that we missed right early on is the whole reinforcements mechanic was not there initially, and it turns out that because it's a small game board and because things are very board gamey and use small integers and things like that, if you add one more monster, that's a massive change in difficulty.
Yeah.
And so when you start moving into this reinforcements-based thing, you make things that are more the player's fault.
Okay.
And
so what is this? Because I don't know if we've actually covered reinforcements just yet.
Right. So basically, it's this thing where when you attack a monster, it makes a loud noise when it dies.
Yes, we have.
The
Of course, the
climb
monsters
up to the
pop up.
ground.
Yes.
That kind of thing. That's pretty omnipresent in the game, and it makes it so that a lot of the difficulty is more based on your decisions.
Yes.
It's based on consequences of your actions.
Well, I always feel that makes it a better game. If I feel like I know I made a mistake, I know I can go back and rectify that mistake.
Ooh, we found a backpack.
Oh, yes, because you were saying actually that this is a high-value area, so that's what was going to be my next thing. What are the things that are high-value?
Yeah, we got some pretty... Oh, that guy left a backpack on the ground back there. This is not good. These floating things are actually explosive. And so we're just hoping that that thing chooses to not chew through one on its way to get to us. Which it might decide to do. Hopefully
they're kind
not.
of close to your car as well, is the other thing.
Yes.
Can the car be damaged or destroyed or anything?
Yes. It's currently damaged. If it takes even 1 point of additional damage, it's going to explode.
That's it. And I imagine that's as the whole point of the game is to get to the west. That's kind of
you're managing a lot of these different things. All right. Where's... Oh, do we want... Let's see. Nah, there's nothing in here we need. All right, let's just get in here. We got really lucky. Usually you don't find another car out here, but it may not be enough still. All right, let's hop in.
Ah, there you go. That's exactly going to be my next question. Can you get in the other cars and drive around in them?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is like this is kind of a usually a little bit more of a balancing act, but fortunately this car has a luggage rack. Normally you can't store any items in this vehicle. And this actually has an extra seat. That car can only store 3 people. This one can store 4.
And you're going to pick up more people as you go along? Okay.
Yeah, there's in the build we have on the show floor here and that we've been running in our private alpha, mostly you can only find individual survivors, but there is support for also settlements.
Okay.
Currently things get really weird there, not exactly in the way that we want. So we're not running
really?
it.
So it's just sort of a programming thing, right? Sort of like, huh,
yeah,
that shouldn't be a thing.
Exactly.
What sort of stage of development are you guys at the moment?
This game
you said you have a private alpha at the moment.
Yeah, and it's still pretty early. I think it'd be fair to characterize the game as being about 1/3 complete, something like that. But we know a lot of that time and effort has been spent exploring what the game even should be.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, it does sound like just from the conversations we've had that there has been a lot of... what are we doing?
We've thrown out an enormous amount of stuff that just didn't
really?
fit the core experience that we were trying to make. So here, we took a risk. We went way out. We got some really good items. Like this is a med kit, which is really handy. It's a first aid kit that can heal people that never runs out of uses. This is a great item to have.
Pretty useful.
And we've got a backpack, so we can actually like have somebody who functions as a medic essentially now, which is great.
So you can put that in the backpack and then
exactly. You've always got that on you. The problem is we used up almost all of our fuel. The car we found had almost no fuel, and now we're at what is essentially like a D&D saving roll mechanic in Overland, which is you are. We've had to pull over on the side of the road in some place where we really weren't supposed to. And so we're going to scavenge a little bit of fuel here, but there's like all sorts of stuff going on here. There's these guys, and then there's these guys, and they're not good news either. And there's this car over here that we can siphon a little bit of extra fuel out of if we can get to it.
Yeah, but you're going to have to get past these guys.
Exactly.
So a lot of this does seem to be a risk-reward kind of situation as you go through the game.
Yep. That's really wanted to get, like, at least to me, that always feels like the decision space where, whereas basically, I wanted to get down for a while. Like the goal of the game was actually for every decision to be life and death.
Yeah,
that was like the starting goal. Literally every decision, and so like a full playthrough of the game would be about 30 minutes long.
Yeah,
and it would be pretty vicious.
Wow.
And it wasn't quite the pacing that we wanted, so we backed off of that. But it's still pretty much the design goal is, you know, if you're deciding whether to move forward 1 square or move to the left 1 square. I want that to matter. I want people to actually have to think about that and actually make a pretty crucial decision about whether or not that is even a good idea.
Okay.
And we mostly managed to do it so far. All right, I got that. Oh boy. Oh boy.
That didn't sound good.
No, when you're close to the road like this, the sensitivity level is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And so the problem here is we just killed that monster, which normally causes 2 reinforcements to appear, but this area is sensitive, so an additional reinforcement appeared. We're also using the pipe, which is what's called a loud weapon in Overland, which causes an extra reinforcement to appear. So
you've got 4. Okay.
Things are getting a little bit gnarly, so we may not be able to siphon fuel from this vehicle after all. We're gonna mostly just try to leave.
We're gonna go.
Yeah, we're gonna go. The problem is this vehicle's already been damaged and the road is blocked by these guys now.
Great.
So the thing to do here,
this is looking sweet.
This is Russ. Russ has been with us this whole time. He doesn't have a useful ability like Bjorn does.
Oh wait, you're now weighing people up.
I mean, a little bit.
I just thought you just threw that out there like, you know, he's not quite as good.
So we can either, I mean, these guys are going to take 3 hits each. The van doesn't have armor. We don't have a toolbox to repair it. It's already been damaged.
Yeah.
One way to escape this situation is for Bjorn to hide in the van and stay quiet, and for Russ to kite everybody off of the road.
And then you're going to drive off. So long, Russ.
It doesn't look good for him to me, because we have a clear out. We can go.
Yeah. Oh, Russ. At least they left me a car. Well, we're probably going to have to wrap things up here pretty soon. But
that's great for me.
Yeah, because it looked like things were getting bad.
Like, sorry, Russ, man. That's stone cold.
This game is currently in a private alpha.
Yeah, we're running private alpha. There's probably going to be some sort of limited sale of keys on itch.io next month.
Okay.
If people want to check that out, you can go to overland-game.com and sign up for our mailing list. It's going to be an unlisted public sale of keys, so really you know, if you're watching the game and you think like, okay, yeah, I see where the rough corners are, but I want to spend time with this and I want to be part of a community that's playing this early, sign up for the mailing list. That's where you'll find out about it first. And we're just going to keep putting in more stuff and keep cleaning things up. And then there's going to be some more launches later this year.
Awesome. That's, and by the sounds of it, the community feedback is a big thing for you guys. Like, you like discussing.
Yeah, I don't want to crowdsource the design. Like, obviously, there's a lot of things in here that we feel really strongly about. But at the same time, you know, it means a lot to me to be able to check in with other people and be like, hey, I was hoping that this was feeling like this, and that we were achieving this. And can you, like, did it feel that way to you?
Did that work?
And some of these things in here are really. You know, it's in a lot of ways it's a big design. There's a lot of moving parts, and sometimes I just miss things. And so there are definitely things in this game that only exist because of really great player feedback already.
Yeah.
So increasing that pool of players a little bit. We've probably only got about 100 people playing the alpha right now, and I would love to grow that pretty soon.
Awesome. So what was the web address again for people to find out more?
Overland-game.com, and you can check out our other games at Finji.co. And that's our thing, yeah. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you.
This game looked really cool. I was sort of sat here just enjoying watching it being played and like seeing how it pans out.
I feel the same way now, and it wasn't always that way.
Yeah. So, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was a really interesting insight into the development cycle as well, which is nice.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Thank you so much. We'll be back very soon here at the Indie.XSplit showcase, so do stick around. We've got all sorts of games coming up, and we're going to show them very soon. But for now, we will see you in a bit.